The forbidden code. The very idea feels like something out of myth, a relic locked away because its truth was too potent to be allowed in plain sight. But it isn't myth, it isn't fantasy, it's real. And right now, while you're listening, that code is already shaping your life in silence. The book we're about to decode speaks not in words, but in vibrations. And those vibrations? They're the actual forces steering what you feel, what you attract, and what keeps looping no matter how hard you try to change things. You've been told that faith, positivity, or karma determine the life you experience. But the deeper truth is simpler and more unsettling. Your reality is decided by your vibrational state. And here's the twist. Most people don't choose that state. It was chosen for them long before they were aware enough to notice. That's why life feels repetitive. That's why some desires stay just out of reach, even after endless effort. The code is operating underneath everything, silently programming the frequencies that form your daily experience. Now, imagine for a moment a spotlight. Wherever it points, it brings what was invisible into focus. That spotlight is your attention. And attention is not passive, it is vibrational. It doesn't just notice reality, it shapes it. It's like a laser cutting into the quantum field, programming it with precision. Wherever your attention sustains itself, energy crystallizes. And the result? Your external world bends to mirror what's being held inside your inner field. That's why no affirmation works if it's layered over unconscious attention fixed on fear or lack. The words might be sweet, the practice might feel noble, but if the spotlight of attention is glued to worry, your field is programmed with worry. The forbidden code teaches this. Manifestation isn't about wanting or even believing. It's about sustaining vibration. And this is where the uncomfortable truth surfaces. That vibration, your baseline frequency, was conditioned into you. It didn't arise naturally. Society, culture, education, and even your family unknowingly trained your attention to orbit around fear, urgency, comparison, and scarcity. You were taught to react, to stay alert, to focus on survival. And in doing so, your vibration collapsed into lower levels. Levels that the ancient fragments of this book describe with chilling precision. You see, there are 6 primary vibrational levels. They are not theories. They're not abstract categories. They are lived realities, states of frequency that shape entire worlds for those who dwell in them. And every person, whether aware or not, is vibrating within one of these levels right now. Some remain trapped at the bottom, locked in scarcity and fear. Others climb higher, accessing flows of synchronicity, effortless manifestation, and eventually merging with the divine frequency itself. But here's why the book was forbidden. If you understand these levels, you can no longer be controlled. If you know the frequency you're vibrating at and how to shift it, you become untouchable by the structures that thrive on your unconsciousness. You stop being food for the systems of distraction, fear, and manipulation. You become a sovereign being, radiating a frequency so coherent that reality itself bends to align with you. And once that happens, there is no turning back. This is the real reason why the knowledge was buried. Not because it was dangerous in the way of weapons or rebellion. It was dangerous because it set people free, truly free. And freedom at the vibrational level means you cannot be steered by mass fear, you cannot be lured by hollow distractions, and you cannot be trapped by the illusion of powerlessness. You awaken, and once awakened, you never go back. So let's return to attention, the foundation of everything. Think of it as the first domino in a chain reaction. Before you think, before you feel, before you act, there's attention. What you allow it to land on becomes the seed of vibration. And seeds don't care if they're flowers or weeds. They grow whatever you plant. Right now, many people plant seeds of fear by accident. They water those seeds every time they scroll endlessly, compare themselves, complain, or react without pause. And then they wonder why their garden blooms with struggle. But the field is fair. It doesn't reward words, it mirrors vibration. Thoth, the ancient sage whose fragments whispered about this forbidden knowledge, wrote that the mind is only a mirror. A mirror reflects. It doesn't invent, which means your thoughts are not creative by themselves. They are reflections of the vibrational plane sustained beneath them. Change the vibration, and the thoughts will follow. But ignore the vibration, and your thoughts will keep recycling the same script forever. And that recycling is the true prison. It feels comfortable because it's familiar. Wake up, scroll, worry, rush, compare, sleep, repeat. Each day feels new on the surface, but vibrationally, it's the same loop. This invisible conditioning is the most subtle form of control humanity has ever known. It doesn't shout. It doesn't chain your body. It softly tethers your frequency day after day until you forget you were ever free. But here's where things shift. The moment you recognize the prison, the moment you see the loop for what it is, you ignite the first spark of freedom. You awaken to the fact that you are not stuck. You are conditioned. And conditioning, unlike fate, can be undone. This is why this book feels alive as you hear it. Because knowledge of the 6 vibrational levels isn't intellectual, it's energetic. Simply hearing the truth begins to disrupt the old program. You'll notice it already. A tiny curiosity stirring inside you. A subtle questioning of what you once accepted as normal. That's no accident. That's the field responding to your attention, shifting, even slightly, to a new vibration. What comes next is crucial, because now we step into the first level of vibration the book warns about. A level so common, so normalized that most people don't even realize they're in it. And yet, this level is the exact reason why so many lives feel stuck, heavy, and repetitive. It's not laziness. It's not weakness. It's the frequency of survival. And survival, though it feels logical and necessary, is the mask fear wears when it wants to stay hidden. Level 1. Survival. The prison no one questions because it looks so much like everyday life. At first glance, survival seems natural. It's responsibility. It's realism. It's what we call being an adult. But hidden underneath those masks is the first vibrational trap. The most silent, the most widespread, and the hardest to detect precisely because it has been normalized. Survival isn't only about living paycheck to paycheck or running from danger. It's subtler. It shows up when you wake in the morning and your chest tightens before your feet even hit the ground, already listing everything you must do. It's there when you check your account balance and feel the pulse of fear, even if nothing dramatic has happened yet. It sneaks in your mind when you scroll through social media and feel that you're falling behind. This is not logical responsibility. This is fear dressed as routine. The Forbidden Book insists survival is the lowest frequency, not because it's shameful, but because it collapses your field into the bare minimum. It doesn't create, it doesn't expand, it doesn't manifest beyond what already exists. It only reproduces fear-based patterns. Fear of failure, fear of lack, fear of time running out. And fear has many disguises. I'm just being practical. I have to be careful. I can't dream too big right now. Words that sound rational but are soaked with vibrational scarcity. And here's the cruelest trick. This state feels normal because everyone around you is living it. Culture tells you the world is dangerous, that competition is fierce, that survival is noble. Entire industries are built on fueling this vibration. News channels flooding you with crises, workplaces glorifying exhaustion, families teaching caution as love. And so you inherit this identity without even realizing it. I am someone who must fight for every piece of stability. But what happens vibrationally when you believe that? Your attention, the spotlight that shapes reality, locks onto threats, gaps, and insufficiencies. And the field mirrors exactly that. Bills arrive late. Accidents occur. Small conflicts snowball into heavy stress. It's not punishment, it's resonance. The field isn't judging. It's simply amplifying the vibration you hold most often. And if that vibration is survival, then you'll manifest only more situations that keep you surviving. This is why exhaustion has become epidemic. Because surviving is exhausting. It runs your nervous system at a constant low-level alarm. Your body stays tense. Your sleep shallow. Your thoughts rapid fire. Even moments of joy feel fleeting because deep down your system is still waiting for the next threat. You're not physically tired from what you do each day. You're vibrationally drained from the frequency you're locked into. And here's the part that stings. Survival becomes addictive. Even though it hurts, it feels familiar. The rush of adrenaline when you fix something last minute. The little dopamine hit when you barely manage to pay a bill. The false pride in saying, I'm grinding, I'm hustling. It feels like achievement, but it's just survival disguised as progress. Now, does this mean survival mode is useless? No, it's necessary in moments of true crisis. But the problem is that people stay there permanently. They confuse survival with living. And that confusion is the first vibrational prison. In this state, manifestations stall because energy is consumed by staying afloat. Try as you might, visualizations, affirmations, rituals, if underneath you're vibrating fear, urgency, or lack, then the universe will mirror those states instead of your words. And this is where the forbidden book whispers the first key of awakening. You are not your survival state. You are vibrating within it. And anything you vibrate within, you can vibrate out of. But only if you recognize it. Awareness is the first step. Not guilt, not shame, awareness. So pause and ask, how much of my day is spent reacting? How much of my attention is on what's missing? What could go wrong? What I must fix right now? This is not judgment, it's diagnosis. Because once you see survival for what it is, the illusion cracks. The mask slips, and you remember something buried. You weren't born to survive. You were born to manifest. But the book is clear. Escaping survival is not about forcing joy or pretending problems don't exist. It's about recognizing survival as a frequency, not a fact. When you realize this isn't life, this is a level, you open the door to vibrational choice. You don't have to stay there. You can move. You can rise. And what happens when a spark of rebellion lights up inside survival? When a human being, tired of exhaustion, says enough, something shifts. Energy begins to flow differently. Effort takes shape. Goals form. Discipline arrives. And that movement marks the entrance into the second vibrational level, the state of control. It feels like freedom at first, but as you'll see, it carries its own hidden trap. Level 2. Control. The second vibrational stage that feels like escape, but in truth, it is only a more polished prison. After years of vibrating in survival mode, fueled by fear, urgency, and scarcity, something deep within you eventually revolts. It whispers that there must be more. You feel a spark of possibility, a rising determination to take charge of your life. And so you begin to act. You set goals. You study techniques. You push yourself to wake earlier, to read the right books, to chase the right opportunities. For the first time in a long time, you feel movement. Survival was passive, reactive, heavy. But control? Control feels active. It feels empowering. And in the beginning, it works. The Forbidden Book describes this stage with careful detail. Control is the vibrational level of effort. It's the point where a human being shifts from victim to achiever. You no longer feel like life is happening to you. You start to feel like you're happening to life. You take pride in your discipline, in your productivity, in the sheer power of your will. And the field responds to this new frequency by reflecting back results. Money begins to flow more steadily. Projects succeed. Your body responds to your discipline. You may even inspire others who still feel stuck in survival. But the book warns of something subtle, something most miss in their excitement. This stage, though higher than survival, is still reactive. It's not rooted in flow, it's rooted in force. And force always comes with a price. You see, control demands your constant attention. Every result depends on you pushing, organizing, strategizing, doing. At first, this effort feels exhilarating, like a muscle finally stretching after years of stagnation. But over time, effort becomes burden. Productivity becomes obsession. Control becomes compulsion. You're no longer running from fear. You are running toward results. But vibrationally, both are still forms of reactivity. And here's the trap. The universe reflects exactly what you vibrate. If you vibrate urgency, you will attract more reasons to be urgent. If you vibrate pressure, you will attract more responsibilities that keep the pressure alive. Achievements stack up? Yes, but each one only births a new demand. You get the raise and instantly set a higher financial target. You finish one project and already feel behind on the next. There is no rest and control. On the surface, you might look successful. People may admire your discipline. Society certainly applauds this stage. The culture we live in idolizes control, celebrating those who grind, who sacrifice, who push until they break. But beneath the applause, vibrationally, the truth is harsh. Control is unsustainable, because your field is still vibrating distrust. Distrust in flow, distrust in timing, distrust in the universe's ability to hold you. And so exhaustion creeps in. At first it's invisible, sleepless nights here, tension in the body there. But then it grows. Breathing shortens. Creativity dries up. The sense of joy fades, replaced by obligation. You begin to wonder, why, if I'm doing everything right, does it feel so heavy? The answer, the book says, is simple. You change your behavior, but not your vibration. Control is a bridge. It's better than survival because it awakens your agency. But it's not freedom. It's a transition state, a phase that teaches you discipline, but also shows you the limits of discipline. Because life is not meant to be an endless list of tasks, a marathon of effort. And yet in this stage, stopping feels impossible. Stopping feels like collapse. That is the prison of control. You keep moving, not from inspiration, but from fear of stillness. If you stop, you fear everything will fall apart. And so, you anesthetize yourself with productivity. You don't act for joy. You act to avoid emptiness. But the emptiness will not be avoided forever. It always returns. It creeps in at night when the noise dies down, when your achievements don't fill the silence. It's the whisper that says, "Is this all? Is this what life is?" And that whisper is not weakness. It is the call to rise higher. Because the forbidden book reveals that beyond control lies coherence. The third vibrational level. The point where action is no longer forced, but aligned. Where thought, feeling, and behavior finally tune together into harmony. And only there does manifestation begin to feel effortless. The question is, will you be brave enough to loosen the grip of control and step into the unknown frequency of coherence? Level 3. Coherence. The turning point where vibration stops being a tug-of-war between fear and force and begins to settle into harmony. After surviving, after controlling, you eventually collide with the limits of effort. You realize you can't keep pushing forever. The body signals, the heart aches, success tastes flat, and the whisper of emptiness grows louder. That whisper is not failure, it's guidance. It's a call toward coherence. The forbidden book describes coherence as the first truly creative vibrational state. In survival, energy collapses. In control, energy exhausts. But in coherence, energy aligns. It is here that thought, feeling, and action stop fighting each other and begin playing in unison, like instruments in a well-tuned orchestra. Consider the contrast. In control mode, you might repeat affirmations of abundance while secretly feeling fear every time you check your bank account. Or you meditate for calm, but then live the rest of the day in anxiety. Or you say you want love, but accept relationships that drain you. Those contradictions cancel vibration. They scatter your field. And the field, always precise, reflects back that incoherence. Incoherence, however, the words, the emotions, and the behaviors hum on the same frequency. You say, "I am abundant," and your body relaxes as if it's true. You act with generosity because your heart already feels full. You pursue work that reflects your natural talents instead of forcing yourself into roles that betray your values. And when the three levels, thought, feeling, action, sing the same note, your vibration amplifies with stunning clarity. What happens then? Synchronicities appear. Opportunities align. Health improves. Relationships soften. You feel carried instead of dragged. Life begins to flow because your field is finally broadcasting a consistent signal. Coherence doesn't beg the universe. It harmonizes with it. And the universe always echoes back harmony. But the book warns, this stage isn't the end. In fact, coherence reveals new cracks that were invisible before. Because once your life begins to align, the areas that remain misaligned stand out with painful clarity. You may feel harmony in your work, but still face chaos in love. Or your relationships may improve while your finances remain blocked. These stubborn areas are not signs of failure. They're mirrors pointing to the deepest incoherence left unresolved. Why do they persist? Because coherence isn't only about habits. It's about identity. And while you may align your surface, your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, your core self-image may still carry old scars, old guilt, old fear. It's like renovating a house, but leaving the foundation cracked. Eventually, the cracks resurface. This is where many feel stuck. They say, I've meditated, I've affirmed, I've aligned. Why won't this one thing change? The Forbidden Book's answer is clear. Because coherence at the surface is not enough. You must bring coherence all the way down to your sense of being. And that realization is both terrifying and liberating. Terrifying because it demands that you confront the deepest stories you carry about yourself. The ones that say you're not worthy, not enough, not ready. But liberating because once those stories dissolve, your vibration transforms permanently. You no longer need to sustain coherence. It sustains you. At this level, reality becomes a mirror sharper than ever. Every unresolved belief reveals itself through the people you meet, the delays you face, the emotions that surge unexpectedly. And each reflection is an invitation. Will you align deeper, or will you mask the cracks with more doing? If you mask, you fall back into control. If you align, you rise into the next stage. And the next stage is profound. Because once coherence solidifies, the game of manifestation shifts from alignment to identity. You stop asking, what do I want to have? And begin living, who am I being? That is level 4. But before we step into identity, let's pause here. Coherence is the threshold between trying and becoming. And crossing it requires honesty, courage, and above all, presence. For the first time, you taste what it means to manifest not by forcing, but by resonating. And once you taste that, you can never untaste it. Level 4. Identity. The vibrational threshold where everything shifts, because now it's no longer about what you do or even how well you align. It's about who you are. Up until this point, survival trapped you in fear, control chained you to effort, and coherence gave you glimpses of harmony. But coherence, as powerful as it feels, still leaves room for doubt, still leaves space for conditional vibration. I feel abundant when things are flowing. I feel love when it's reflected back. Identity is where those conditions dissolve. The Forbidden Book insists, reality does not respond to your words, nor even to your actions. Reality responds to your being, and being is vibration. This is the hidden key most teachings avoid, because it demands more than practice. It demands transformation. Think of identity as your energetic signature. It's the frequency you emit without trying, the state you hold even when you're not paying attention. In survival, your identity is, I am someone who must endure. In control, it's, I am someone who must do. In coherence, it begins to shift. I am someone who seeks alignment. But in identity, it crystallizes into something deeper. I am. Not I am trying. Not I am waiting. Just being. This isn't performance. It's not about declaring, I am confident while secretly doubting, or saying, I am abundant while feeling lack. That's control dressed in new words. Identity vibration doesn't need to declare. It simply radiates. When you become abundance, opportunities appear naturally. When you become love, relationships reorganize around your frequency. When you become lightness, life bends to reflect that ease. But here lies the challenge. The ego does not want to surrender identity. It thrives on labels, roles, and stories. I'm the hardworking one. I'm the victim. I'm the provider. I'm the survivor. These stories give a continuity. And so, when you try to shift identity, the ego resists. It whispers doubts. It clings to old habits. It tries to convince you that becoming the new you is reckless, unsafe, or impossible. That resistance is the ego's last stand. Because once you embody a new vibrational identity, the old patterns no longer have ground to stand on. The field mirrors your new state relentlessly. People who resonated with your old self drift away. Environments that matched your former vibration begin to reject you. And this transition, though liberating, can feel lonely. The book warns, identity transformation is a death and rebirth. You're not only changing habits, you're dissolving an entire self-image and birthing a new one. And death is always uncomfortable. Old emotions surge. Old memories replay. The ego bargains, offering you safe mediocrity if only you'll stop transforming. But the deeper self whispers louder. Keep going. What's remarkable about this stage is the precision with which the field responds. When you live from identity, even small inconsistencies show. A stray doubt, a moment of fear, a subtle tension. These ripple into reality faster than before. Not to punish, but to mirror, reminding you that your vibration has become incredibly sensitive. The higher the frequency, the more exact the reflection. And this sensitivity is a gift, because it teaches you to stay vigilant with your state of being, not out of fear, but out of reverence. You begin to notice the subtle currents of your own frequency. You learn to feel when you're slipping back into effort or fear. You catch yourself not with judgment, but with awareness. That awareness is the foundation of sovereignty. At identity, manifestation becomes less about asking and more about radiating. You stop waiting for proof before feeling. You choose the vibration first, and the field echoes it back. You stop saying, I'll be grateful when, and begin living, I am grateful now. You stop saying, I'll feel love when they, and begin radiating love regardless. And paradoxically, the world rearranges itself to match your unconditional choice. But here's the subtle danger. Identity is not yet the peak. Many reach this stage and mistake it for the end. They believe they've arrived because reality responds so quickly. But the book warns of the final trap, the ego returning in disguise. It no longer fights you with obvious fear. It wears spiritual masks. It whispers, you already know this. You can't fall anymore. Nothing can touch you. And in that pride, the fall begins. This is the blind spot of identity. Believing the journey is over when, in truth, it has only opened the door to the final two levels, quantum vibration and divine vibration. Stages where manifestation transcends asking, transcends identity, and enters pure resonance with the whole. Identity is powerful, but it is still personal. Quantum and divine, they are beyond the personal. They're the frequencies where you dissolve into the field itself. And once there, reality no longer follows you. It flows through you. Levels 5 and 6. The vibrational peaks described in the Forbidden Book. If survival is the prison, control the treadmill, coherence the tuning, and identity the becoming, then these last two are the transcendence. They're the states where manifestation stops being something you do or practice and becomes a natural consequence of your very existence. Level 5 is the quantum vibration. Here, the universe responds before you even ask. This isn't mysticism, it's physics. Modern science has already revealed that matter behaves differently when observed. Consciousness collapses possibilities into form. But what the ancient fragments add is this. It's not mere observation that collapses. It's vibrational observation, the state you hold in your being. In quantum vibration, you no longer create by pushing intentions outward. Instead, the field mirrors your presence inward. You hold peace, and chaos reorganizes itself around you. You vibrate abundance, and opportunities arrive before the need even arises. The paradox becomes clear. The less you chase, the more comes to you. The less you force, the more unfolds. Why? Because resistance dissolves. And without resistance, reality flows at the speed of resonance. At this stage, time itself feels different. Things align faster. Delays vanish. Coincidences multiply until you can't call them coincidences anymore. You walk into rooms and sense they shift to match your energy. People respond without knowing why. The world seems to bend around you, not because you're commanding it, but because you're finally attuned to it. You've stopped vibrating separation. You've stopped vibrating need. You're simply holding the frequency of the outcome as if it already exists, and so it does. But sustaining this level is not easy. The ego, though weak and lurks, it whispers pride, or fear, or distraction. A stray thought of lack can ripple through the field with greater speed than ever. The higher you climb, the sharper the mirror. And so, vigilance becomes essential. Not vigilance from fear, but from love. Attention must stay anchored. And then, there is the final level. Level 6. The divine vibration. Here, the self dissolves into the whole. The seeker, the manifester, even the one who once asked for miracles, all dissolve. There is no more I want. No more I manifest. There's only flow. At this level, life doesn't respond to you. It expresses through you. Decisions arise without calculation. Words flow without rehearsal. Synchronicities aren't surprises. They are constants. The boundaries between me and universe blur until they disappear. You live as a channel, a bridge between the visible and invisible. Miracles are no longer rare. They're simply the natural rhythm of reality. But here lies the greatest paradox. Even in this state, vigilance is needed. Not because the divine can fall, but because the human self can forget. The ego may dress itself in spiritual pride, whispering, I cannot be touched. I have arrived. And the moment you believe it, the vibration wavers. That's why the book emphasizes humility as the guardian of the divine vibration. Not weakness, humility. The silent recognition that you are not the source, but the expression of the source. To live at this level is to embody the forbidden book itself. It's to move through the world untouchable by chaos, not because chaos disappears, but because it no longer finds resonance within you. The external may swirl, but your field radiates such coherence that it reorganizes everything it touches. You no longer manifest, you emanate. And this is the ultimate secret. The forbidden book wasn't hidden because it was dangerous. It was hidden because it revealed that power has always been within, that the prison was never the world, it was the vibration you agreed to sustain. And when you awaken to that, you can no longer be controlled. You've now walked through all 6 levels: survival, control, coherence, identity, quantum, and divine. You've seen how each vibration builds upon the last, how each trap disguises itself, and how each rise requires surrender. The choice now is yours. Will you remain oscillating between survival and control, dipping into coherence when convenient? Or will you continue the climb, risking the death of the old self, to live fully as vibration embodied? Because the field is already responding. Right now, in this very moment, it mirrors the choice you're making. Not with words, not with intention, but with vibration. And if you've listened this far, it means one thing. The forbidden book is no longer outside of you. It's awake inside of you. As this journey closes, pause and notice what shifted inside you. Perhaps it was subtle, a new awareness of your patterns, a glimpse of how much of your life has been guided by invisible vibrations. Or perhaps it was profound, an unmistakable sense that you are more than your survival, more than your control, more than the old stories you've carried. Remember this. Nothing in the forbidden book was ever truly forbidden. The knowledge was hidden because humanity wasn't ready to hold it without distortion. But you're ready. You've touched the 6 levels. You've seen how attention seeds vibration, how vibration shapes reality, and how your state of being writes the script of your life. This isn't just a concept to reflect on, it's a choice to embody. At every moment, you are choosing which level to sustain. And while the world may still pull at your attention, distract you, provoke fear, or demand effort, you now hold the awareness that makes all the difference. You can step back. You can recenter. You can choose a new vibration before the old one drags you back. So let this be your practice. Notice where your attention is anchored. Ask yourself, am I vibrating survival? Or am I vibrating creation? Then gently return your focus to the frequency of the reality you desire, not with force, but with presence. And know this, the more you sustain higher vibration, the more your external reality will reconfigure to match it. That is not hope. That is law. So go forward lightly, live with humility. Anchor your vibration daily. And remember, you are not someone trying to manifest. You are the vibration itself.